my great grandmother's still alive. So kill the lie that you could ever kill the vibe. Can't be prepared for a world you.
All right, y'all. We're here with friend, collaborator, Verbal Tec. Verbal Tec is an artist, rapper out of Philadelphia, and has just released a new album. Verbs, why don't you go ahead and tell us about the album, like the name, and about the album you just released?
Yeah, the record is called No Struggle, No Progress, and it's a collaborative project with myself and a good friend of mine, producer Vanderslice. Dropped in December.
Beautiful. Before we get into your background, tell me about like working with one artist or one producer for an album.
Yeah, it's definitely more of a collaborative process as far as kind of how we approached it. And this is our second record. The first one we did was Freedom Papers, and that dropped in 2018. But it's more of just like an overall collaborative, like you develop a chemistry. So, throughout the process, he'll send me tracks that he knows is kind of like in my wheelhouse. And then even in the recording process, like he's always there and present in the studio. We kind of like feed off each other as it relates to like the process and like vocal performances. That overall is just when I say a joint album, it's really a joint project. He has as much input as I do as far as the final product.
All right, so actually with that, it's an interesting, like what do you look for when you're working with a producer? How do you kind of build that trust with him?
I mean, I've been knowing him for like 20 years, so I think the friendship, the way that we interpret and look at music is somewhat similar, and not even like completely similar. There's just like a synergy that we share as far as like a vision and what we are fans of. I mean, because ultimately we try to make the music that we like, but I mean, I think in general, it's got to be something. It's got to be like a musical, like soulful sound. Of so much of my music and like creation is about feeling. And I think if you don't have a feeling specifically with music, then there's no connection to, the audience person that's listening to it. So yeah, I think in a nutshell, it's just about that feeling. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to describe, but when I hear it, when I hear certain sounds or, the way certain samples are like chopped or whatever, it's something that I feel and I'm just like, oh, yeah, this is dope. Like I'm going to jump on this or I'm going to jump on that. Or like I'm going to work with this dude or I'm going to work with this person, and so forth.
Okay, that's cool. I like that. And so you say you guys are looking for a particular thing, like when you're making an album, when you're creating music together. Is that what you're looking for? Is it just that feeling, or is there other things that you're looking for when you're trying to decide like what makes a good song for you?
I mean, personally, I think it just has to have a certain depth. I try to search for a depth, like a certain like vulnerability, which is not always present specifically like in rap or in hip hop, but you want to communicate some type of message to create that connection. And I think that's what it is. We try to follow like the ethos of like quality over quantity. That's kind of what keeps what we do focused as far as, from the recording process to, the writing process to, where the samples come from and how, the production values to even, the way we record and, the mastering process and, present content and all of that. It's always a, quality over quantity type of perspective we approach everything.
Beautiful. So you said something about vulnerability is not common in hip hop or rap. What do you mean by that?
I mean, I just mean so much. I mean, historically, so much of rap and hip hop is based off of like how you can do something better than the next person. It's like a lot of attention on, the self or trying to promote an image that you think people want to hear or want to identify with. But like I'm more fans of, MCs and artists who can also give you a balance, tell you about like what they really going through, like their struggles and their obstacles, just to give you a more complete picture. So, I mean, that's what I mean as far as, being vulnerable and allowing people to see, a three-dimensional picture of the artist is me. And I think that's important because people can identify with that and they can also they can see themselves and your experiences and like your challenges and that you're a real person.
Okay, well, that's kind of why we're talking, because of the video we did for the last track, Letter from Portsmouth, on your album.
Yeah.
The video we created for it. Before we start talking about the specifics of the video, just kind of tell me about like the song, like the title, what you're trying to communicate in it.
The song, like the title, Letter from Portsmouth, my mother's side of my family is from that area. It's a specific town in Virginia, in Hampton Roads, Virginia. It's called Portsmouth. And my great-grandmother passed away in December 2020. The last two records that I did, I like to do an opening and a closing. It's similar to like, it just feels like complete to me. And so the last track is kind of a closing of the rest of the record, and it's just summarizing everything. You know, no struggle, no progress is a theme that's consistent throughout. The last track is just emphasizing that. And I just called it Letter from Portsmouth because it just felt like a reference point for, you know, my story. Just talking about struggle and, you know, challenges and obstacles and how far that at least people in my family have traveled. When you talk about generationally, like the struggles are different, the progress looks different, but it's still kind of that same theme. And with her passing, it was just, you know, kind of like really fresh in my mind. And, you know, the first two bars, when I talk about her still being alive, like I wrote that rhyme when she was still alive, and I was just trying to record it before she would pass away, and I thought about changing it, but while we were in the studio, Vanderslice was like, nah man, we gonna keep that. He had a lot of deaths in his family, like immediate family, and he's just like, nah man, like all the people that passed, they still with us, so we gonna keep it. And I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah, I mean, that's like the impetus for like the track. And I think, honestly, as I'm thinking about it now, that was when the title came. When he said that, we recorded it. And my engineer, Scott, he was kind of like, all right, what's this one called? Then I just told him and he put it in. And I was like, that's it.
Okay. So the title came right then.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, yeah, so we did the video for this, and I know definitely one of the themes is trying to overcome struggle and show growth, and like what does process look like as you know, are kind of symbolically wrestling through that in the video. But tell me a little bit more about like what were you looking to achieve with the video? What were some of your goals like behind it?
I definitely wanted something that was unique. I don't know, man, like my initial idea, I knew I wanted to do something that had a black and white look, that had a film look. And I knew I wanted to do something that was conceptual and not just your standard rap in front of the camera music video. I mean, those were the initial ideas that I had. And I wanted something that had some type of narrative that connected. Even though it was a brief, like a short track.
Yep.
I still wanted something that was cohesive, that, you know, similar to the track. It was kind of like, it was like strong, and it was, you know, in your face, and it was like content heavy, and I wanted a video that kind of shared the same characteristics.
Yeah, I think that's what excited me too about the concept or the idea of working on this video with you, was that, you know, a lot of rap videos are just boring, or you feel like that you've kind of seen them all, you've done them all. And so it was an opportunity to, you know, kind of see like how far you can move it in a certain direction, to see if it still like fit. But then also to make sure it still fit the like aesthetic of the song, the aesthetic of you as an artist, where you're at in terms of what you're trying to do, and not just make it seem like, you know, we're trying to take and import this other visual language on you that doesn't fit with you, which is always a challenge, because, you know, it's easy to get attached to an idea or feel like, oh, this would look good or be cool. But just because it would be cool doesn't mean it's going to like work for you or work for whoever the person you're trying to make it for is. And so as a commercial artist, that's always the challenge of like, okay, I want to bring something to the table that I'm excited about. But at the end of the day, it also has to mesh with what, you know, you're doing, the client. And that's where I find it like there's an interesting sort of puzzle that you have to figure out, make all of that stuff work in conjunction with each other. And then when it does, it's beautiful when it comes together like that. And I think you're able to make something, interesting and unique. And so that was the kind of basic, even creative brief that you like brought and was like, okay, like how can we execute on that? And then from there, we kind of just started throwing around like images and ideas and saw what stuck. And then I think some stuff even came out of like, that like the day of that we were thinking of. But tell me about like shooting on film. Was this your first time shooting something on film, like for a video?
Yeah. Very purposeful and efficient. Like I think that's the best way I would describe it. And just going through the process, it's just amazing to me that people can shoot like a full-length feature film on like using film and not knowing what they have until it gets developed.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, there's gotta be a level of like anxiety when you're like, well, I saw it and I know what I saw, but there's another part of the process that has to happen before you can, kind of get the final result. But yeah, that part was different, but I think I enjoyed it because, again, when you're talking about like quality over quantity, again, like shooting on film, that's all it is, because there's no like infinite amount of like takes or space on memory cards or whatever. Mm-hmm. You got the film and you got that, so you gotta get it. Like you gotta get it. So I enjoy like the deliberate nature of it.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so we shot, one roll of film, which is about 11 minutes, and turned that into the music video, which is about 2 minutes in length. But yeah, it's amazing how quick that 11 minutes will go. You feel like, you're an hour, 2 hours into the day, and you're looking at it, and you're like, oh man, we've already shot like, 25, 30% of the film, and you start to get worried. Right. But it's an interesting discipline, and it's typically exciting and euphoric when you get the film back. Oftentimes heartbreaking, but it's amazing,
yeah, that's
man.
A shame.
Like just how I don't know. It's sort of like an addiction, because I think it triggers this sort of response in you that's it's kind of like an adrenaline or something. Like when you see it, like it's exciting to go through. But okay, so one of the things I noticed, like listening to the song, over time, like trying to think about the videos, that I noticed, I think I noticed a depth to your lyrics that I had not caught at first glance. And so I think there's a poetic nature to what you do, that like you walk a fine line between communicating things fairly in a way that's clear, like it's not too abstract, but it's also like you're kind of like saying sometimes multiple things at once, or like using metaphors to communicate something. And so it wasn't even until I started to really like analyze the lyrics that I caught you talking about what seemed to be, and we haven't talked about this, so I don't even know if I'm on point with it or not, but like justice system being trapped in a box. What's that line where you're talking about like you're trapped in a box?
They try to like put you in a box, and that's what hurts the most.
Yeah,
and you decrease your circumference to keep your circle closed.
On my side, it's never been hip to be a square. They put you in a box, and that's what hurts the most. Then you decrease your circumference to keep your circle close. We had hope, thinking that we could rap forever, but when you broke, it's hard to put the pieces back together.
So tell me, like, what are you implying with that, or like, what are you getting at?
I mean, on the surface, there's like those bars, and like the next like four are like all geometry, all like bars with like geometry. Like if you listen to it, and I talk about like sides and different stuff like that. So like on the surface, it's just like some like super like dope.
All right, so what are the lyrics? Can you just say the lyrics? Or?
Can't be prepared for a world you can't see as fair. On my side, it's never been hip to be a square. They put you in a box, and that's what hurts the most. Then you decrease your circumference to keep your circle close. So like those 4 bars just connect. Like I talk about sides and boxes and squares and then circles. So like on the surface, like in circumference, that's all like all connected, like just a little, like a nice little geometric theme. But I guess like a deeper study is just talking about in different areas of life, like society and culture, that like imprison folks. I'm above all about just people being free, just being free of like limitations of what, people and others say you can do. Especially, the culture that we live in the United States is very much so about having a place for people and having them kind of like do all the things that fit into those places. And when you try to live outside of those spaces, it's a problem. But I've spent so much of my life trying to fit in those spaces, and it never worked, and I could never figure it out. Like, well, and then I finally realized that it's not the spaces or like the places, like it's me. Like I don't exist in those spaces. I gotta be myself. I can have different interests. I can, do different jobs. I can, kind of not be what people in society tell me to be. I can be my own person. So I think that's the larger story, like in those bars, is just being free and being yourself and finding your own way.
Yeah, that's tight.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, and that's the thing. It's like, at first glance, it's like you don't necessarily catch all that, you know what I mean? But as you upon like multiple listens and deeper listening, it's easier to start to kind of connect those dots. And that's why, in the video, we kind of see you like in this space, like you're, literally you are in a box, and it almost feels like a jail cell. And it's, it's not meant to be like explicitly like, okay, like, yeah, we're trying to be on the nose with everything we do visually, but it had a sense of like being trapped, and like
right.
It was more like you said, like trying to create that feeling. And so that's cool that you actually meant that, because that's how I interpreted it. But I think it worked in the video, and there's an ending to the song, ending to the album, ending to the video that features your son. Like talk about like that moment of like what you're trying to, just how meaningful that was for you.
Yeah, like the moment, like originally, like Taj, he wasn't original. Like I didn't have the vision to have him on the song. He just happened to be at my last studio session when we was wrapping up the record, and then we was kind of done. And I'm like, well, I had him say a couple of things on like the previous one, so I was like, well, you got to say something on this one, and then we kind of like did it. But in terms of like the way that the song kind of goes, and especially the video, as I'm like on this search, trying to find a place, like trying to find like the space where I can just be myself, like almost a salvation. Like we on the search for that. At the end, the salvation is like, it's almost like it was already there, but we just needed to be like made aware again. So he's kind of like reiterating, like you can't make any progress if it's like the struggle is the progress and the progress is the struggle. Like this is what it is. You can't move forward unless you deal with these. You can't get free unless you openly fighting to get free. Like that's what it is, and that's what it's always gonna be. So yeah, him kind of reinforcing that as the next generation was just impactful, and I thought it could mean different things, to different people. But in that moment, to me, he's just reinforcing. It's like, oh, you forgot. Well, I'm your child and I'm reminding you, like, you knew this before, but I'm just reiterating the fact that in order to move forward, you still got to fight and you still got to, we not free yet. We still got to, but every day we got to keep fighting to get free.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I love that. So there's a lot of symbolism. There's a lot of strong imagery in the video. Like, I'm really, really happy with the way it came out. I love the way it works with the song and how it complements it. And I think it's a dope video, and it's grateful to be able to like work on it with you, and hope that it's a good piece for you. I hope we were able to create like some form of art that exists in and of itself, but also helps you and helps your mission with what you're trying to do with your art. And I encourage people to go check it out. But yeah, thank you. And that's all I got for now, man. Anything you want to add or wrap it up with?
Yeah, like I would just say the video itself, it came out. Like I didn't have any assumptions. I wasn't even sure we were gonna be able to even do it. But it came out like just as kind of how I envisioned. Like I wanted to do something different. I wanted to do something creative. I wanted to do something that was artistic. And I think that, we accomplished that. So thank you, man. I appreciate your like attention to the details and the time and the effort and, the level of investment. Like I appreciate it. And I think we did something that's dope. And the dope thing about, making music and creating things visually is, man, they last forever. And that's like, we did that. So nobody can take that away. So
word.
Thank you. No struggle, no progress. It's out. It's out everywhere you can find it. It's probably even out some places where you didn't think you could find it. So, check it out, tap in. It's my best music that I've created up until this point, and I'm, proud of that.
Cool. All right. Appreciate it. Catch you next time.
All right. Peace.